We continue our sojourn in the book of James, and as we go into chapter 2, we can really see that Martin Luther clearly did have problems with James because it's so heavy on the what you do bits of faith and really doesn't have a lot of doctrine. There's a bit of doctrine there, a little bit of stuff about faith, but not a great deal, not as much as say Paul, for example. But it's important stuff, and as I said in my little intro on the service sheet on Sunday, the context is what makes this a really significant piece of writing as well, because the context was that the church was already under significant persecution, and we really don't have much of an idea of what that means in the West, in my generation, because we've never experienced anything quite like that. But this was real persecution, bloodshed, murder, torture kind of persecution. And the people had been dispersed and were hiding out, not hiding, they're kind of hiding in plain sight, trying to fit in with the rest of the community, not being too distinctive, as it were, which in a ironic kind of way is the exact opposite of what the people of God are meant to be. We're meant to be salt, leaven and light. We're meant to be something that has an impact on the community around us, not just be exactly the same as it. And so James is addressing that issue head on and basically saying, if you've got faith, it's got to be seen in very tangible ways. And he points out a few of those tangible ways in this passage that we're looking at today, which is the James 2, 1 to 17 passage, I think, yes. So we're looking at that this Sunday at Mustard Seed, and he talks about not being partial or not showing partiality. So in James's day, of course, there were people of varying socio-economic levels who were part of the church, and it seemed like the tradition, which is really easy to understand how this could happen, but people who had money were being showed preferential treatment. Could that ever happen? What's that tower behind me? Anyway, that's a reference to something else. So yeah, people who had money were being shown preference, and James is wanting to say that's not what we do in the church. How much money you have is not what determines your status. It's the fact that you are saved by grace that determines your status. You're saved not because you've got money or don't have money. You're saved by Christ, which means we all have the same status, actually. And there's a partiality towards the poor because often they are disadvantaged and need to be helped to realise that they are accepted. So James is talking about that kind of stuff, and finishes up by saying, basically, if you're saying to people who don't have what they need, you know, be at peace, God will look after you, but you've got what they need and you don't give it to them, then your faith is pretty empty. And they're hard things for us to hear in our fairly, I don't know, in our society where some people have quite a lot and some people are missing out. But it's not as simple as that either, because it's hard to know always what people really want and what missing out means and what having a lot means as well. So none of this is really simple stuff or simplistic stuff, but it is putting a really sharp focus on the fact that your faith has to have real world implications, or it's not really faith at all. So we're going to talk about that on Sunday at Mustard Seed, and you're invited to join us. You're invited to join in our prayer meetings on Thursday on Zoom. Having a good turnout there, and they're going quite well. And Friday night, movie night with Jen, going quite well. Games night went really well on Saturday night. I wasn't there, but I heard it went very well, and I'm sure we'll be doing some more of that soon enough. And again, a very big thank you to Shady and Rose at Pewick for supplying our bread rolls for communion. They always do such a generous thing there, and we're very grateful to them. Until I see you again, stay well, stay faithful. God bless.